Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome around the globe to Kangen Water Radio, featuring the Kangen Water Health and Information International Call, where we consider, clarify, and often correct the conventional wisdom around Kangen water technology, the different machines, the science behind the water types, uses, and benefits, the testing process, the maintenance and cleaning of the machines, and much, much more. We also explore a plethora of other topics as we teach, promote, and discuss the three-pronged approach to health and wellness: hydration, detoxification, and complete macro and micro nutrition. I'm family physician Dr. Lisa Battle Singletary, your virtual keto coach, and I will be joined by my co-host and fearless leader, Mr. Terrence Hope, an Magic 6A distributor extraordinaire, and together we bring you the best of both worlds. This is call number 421, and we are talking about had to mute somebody, sorry. We're talking about hydrogen and oxygen today. And I don't know of any call that's gotten me more geeked out. So I apologize in advance, but you might want to have your pencils and pens on turbocharge, because I've got a lot to share with you. And a lot of it, what I'm going to do, I think, is just share a plethora. I love that word. Have you heard people saying plethora a lot lately? I have, and it seemed like it was after I put plethora in the call intro, I just started hearing people say plethora everywhere, but I have it written down. So anyway, I'm going to share a lot of information with you, a lot of topics, a lot of references, and allow you to explore what piques your interest in the meantime, because this will be like a broad overview of what's going on with hydrogen and oxygen. Now, we're going to start with oxygen. Okay, so something that I used to always say to my students when I was teaching medical students and residents and whatnot, I would tell them, just remember, oxygen is good, right? Well, oxygen is good in the right amount, but is it always good? So we're gonna explore that, and then we're gonna explore what role hydrogen might have in this whole picture. So the first thing I have is, let's see, I'm gonna share my screen, and I started with this article, Interesting Facts About Oxygen. And this one is 10 interesting facts. If you Google it, you can find 20 interesting facts, you can find 50 interesting facts, but the one I want to focus on is fact number 8. Check this out. Approximately 2/3 of the mass of the human body is oxygen. This makes it the most abundant element by mass in the body. Mass is weight, basically, if you factor in gravity. Much of that oxygen is part of water, right? H2O, there's the oxygen. Although there are more hydrogen atoms in the body than oxygen atoms, the hydrogen atoms are very, very light. They're the lightest, smallest elements in the universe. So most of the mass of water is from the oxygen. Oxygen is also the most abundant element in the Earth's crust by mass. Now we know we have a lot more minerals in the Earth's crust, right? It's the third most common element in the universe. And as stars burn hydrogen and helium, oxygen becomes more abundant. But wow, just think about just the weight of the 2/3 of the weight of your body being oxygen. But then let's go to that question that I posed. How can oxygen be bad for you? And I Googled that. How can oxygen be bad for you? And I found all these articles. Is it harmful to breathe 100% oxygen? Yeah, it is. Why? Is breathing pure oxygen bad for you? Human blood is designed to capture oxygen and safely bind it to a molecule known as hemoglobin. Yay, hemoglobin. We love it. However, if you breathe in a high so what is the percentage of oxygen that we normally breathe? Remember that number from high school chemistry? I think it was high school I learned it. And I was surprised to hear this number. The percentage of oxygen in air, 21%. I'm like, isn't air oxygen? No, air is mostly nitrogen, and which is an inert gas, but it's only 21% oxygen. So with a higher oxygen concentration, it will overwhelm the blood, disrupting the central nervous system, damaging the lungs, the heart, the brain. They found when newborn infants, when premature infants were put under oxygen tents, it caused problems with their eyes because of the damage that too much oxygen presented. Not just their eyes, it caused other things. So, and there's another article that I looked at, I'm not pulling it up, but seriously ill, too much dangerous oxygen. That's a Healthline article. Oxygen toxicity is something you can look up under Wikipedia. Why does breathing pure oxygen kill you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So oxygen is good in the right amount. But then there's something else that's bad about, or can be bad about oxygen. And this is the main focus. I think this is what started my path today. Not today, sorry, before today, but the path of this article was thinking about reactive oxygen species and oxidative stress. So what are reactive oxygen species? And so I went to PubMed.gov and I typed in reactive oxygen species review. Now we've had a couple of calls about ROSs, reactive oxygen species, but I just wanted to touch this base because we're talking about oxygen and hydrogen today. So one of the articles that caught my eye when I Googled this, and I just, not Googled, when I went to PubMed, and I just looked at the past 5 years of articles. There have been many, many, many more. But I was caught by the title of this one, Reactive Oxygen Species in Cancer, the role of antioxidative nutraceuticals. So we're all about the oxidative power of electrolyzed reduced water, right? And also taking antioxidants such as turmeric, such as our Ucan. So I just wanted to look at that article. So I pulled it up. And this, I will read a little bit of this to you. All right. So here's the abstract. I don't have the full article, but the abstract is enough. Extensive research over the past half century, so we've known about this for a long time, indicates that reactive oxygen species, or ROSs, play an important role in cancer. Although low levels, this is important, low levels of ROSs can be beneficial, excessive accumulation can promote cancer. So, and it's the, what's her name? Goldilocks? Was it Goldilocks? One was too hot, one was too cold, one was just right. Yeah, Goldilocks and Three Bears. All right. It's the Goldilocks syndrome in so many things. Too little, not so good. Too much, not so good. The right amount, just right, highly beneficial. And same with, the question we have to ask is, how much exposure do we have? How much? And over what period of time? How long? How much and how long? So how much oxidative stress, or how much reactive oxygen species are we exposed to, and for how long? So a little bit can be beneficial. Our bodies produce them and they do things in our body. It's part of our metabolism, but excessive accumulation can promote cancer. One characteristic of cancer cells that distinguishes them from normal cells is their ability to produce increased numbers of ROSs and their increased dependence on an antioxidant defense system. So cancer cells have to defend themselves against antioxidants. So let's see, if cancer cells are producing ROSs in excess and antioxidants help to balance out the ROSs, and cancer cells are defending themselves against antioxidants, maybe it's a good thing to have antioxidants around and to take them into your body. Just using a little logic. All right, so ROSs are produced as a byproduct intracellularly by mitochondria, part of, like I said, part of our metabolism, part of our energy production, and other cellular, and by the mitochondria and other cellular elements that's in the body. But exogenously, outside of the body, they're produced by pollutants, tobacco, smoke, drugs, xenobiotics, other forms of drugs, and radiation. Also, too much stress, that's endogenously produced, but I guess that's covered under other cellular elements. All right, so let's skip all the pathways, but these pathways are linked to cellular transformation, inflammation, tumor survival, proliferation, that's the tumor spreading, invasion, angiogenesis, that's the tumor making more blood vessels for itself, and metastasis of the cancer. So ROSs are associated with changes in genes, which is helpful for diagnosing disease. So this review talks about ROS and various stages of cancer development. Finally, they provide the evidence, that nutraceuticals derived from Mother Nature, I like that they put that shows somebody has a sense of humor. I always like a sense of humor with my science. Nutraceuticals derived from Mother Nature are highly effective in eliminating cancer cells. All right, so I love that. I love that article. And more research on that line has been, more research studies have been made, but I just love that as an overall picture, and also for adding the role of antioxidants from nature. So of course that led me to look at antioxidants, and Healthline has this great article, Antioxidants Explained in Simple Terms. And it talks about what are they, how do the free radicals function. So you might have heard of free radicals in terms of, or in addition to, the term oxidative stress. Things that promote excessive free radicals. So these are things we want to be able to control, avoid, or at least decrease in our day-to-day lives. Foods that contain antioxidants also, and I got another list of those for you later. Antioxidants in that we want to, or antioxidant supplements. And look at this, notable examples include curcuminoids in turmeric. And should you take supplements? The bottom line. Okay, so that's a great article. I'm going to put that in the call resources for you when we do the replay in YouTube. Okay, so also I will share with you this article, 12 healthy foods high in antioxidants. Dark chocolate, love it. Pecans, blueberries. We've heard about that a lot, right? All the berries, strawberries, because it's the color. The foods with color have these flavonoids that are part of the plant's defense mechanism. So the plants have to have antioxidants themselves. Artichokes, goji berries, raspberries, kale, red cabbage, beans, beets, and spinach. I think this is one Healthline article that I have, oh, there it is, sorry. This is one of the few Healthline articles when they have a list like this that I have not objected to something on the list. So kudos to Healthline, kudos to you, Ryan, for writing this article about 12 healthy foods high in antioxidants. So that's like the oxygen part of the picture. But what was the other part of today's picture? Hydrogen. Now let's think about oxygen and hydrogen, right? Oxygen likes to travel in twos. So O2, right, is what we breathe. We breathe in oxygen that is coupled to make a molecule, an O2 molecule. Hydrogen likes also to travel in pairs as H2. So we're gonna take a look at what happens when H2 and O2 get together. You might have an idea. Guess what? Explosions happen. There's so much energy involved. But let's just talk about hydrogen for a second. Now, I did look at interesting facts about hydrogen. But we've said a couple of the interesting facts already, that it's the most abundant element when you count the number of atoms. But by weight, it's a different story depending on what we're looking at. But I want to show you, and welcome to all of you who've joined since we started. I see there's some people that weren't here in the very beginning. and glad to have you. So hydrogen. Oh, I did get some hydrogen facts. All right. So this is from Chemicool, which is, of course, got to be, it has to be cool. Again, I like a little sense of humor. And I picked out two of these facts, but let's just start with number one. About 10% of the weight of living organisms is hydrogen, mainly in water, proteins, and fats. Although there are more hydrogen molecules, but it's because hydrogen is so light. It's element number one. Okay, so hydrogen, number 12, reacts explosively with the elements oxygen, chlorine, and fluorine. Number 9, hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. We owe most of the energy on our planet to hydrogen. The sun's nuclear fires convert hydrogen to helium, releasing a large amount of energy. So I looked up molecular hydrogen, and I downloaded 3 articles that I just loved. So I'm going to share those with you. And I also found another resource that I'm going to show you probably after the Q&A that I'm really happy to bring you as well. So this is what I went to PubMed and I searched molecular hydrogen review. Okay. And when I did that, I found all these articles, molecular hydrogen, a therapeutic antioxidant and beyond. And you can look at all of the different topics that they talk about relating to molecular hydrogen. But I want to bring a couple of the articles that I found. And I'm not sure. Let's see, we'll do this one first. I'm getting out of this because I'm not sure how it's shared on the screen. So just to make sure you can see it. There we go. So molecular hydrogen, a therapeutic antioxidant and beyond. Now this is a review article, which means they looked at all the research and compared it and reviewed it. Molecular hydrogen medical research has flourished since a landmark publication in Nature Medicine revealed the antioxidant and cytoprotective effects of hydrogen gas in a focal stroke model. What does that mean? So it's antioxidant, the molecular hydrogen, which is a good thing, right? And cytoprotective, the word, the 4 letters cyto means cell, and protective means protective. So molecular hydrogen protected cells in strokes. And this was a problem with strokes. Okay, what is a stroke? There are 2 kinds of strokes. When there's a blood vessel that bursts, like an aneurysm bursts, but there's also the most common type of stroke is what we call an embolus, or where a blood vessel is blocked. And so there's a decrease or a cutoff in blood flow to the brain tissue. That's called ischemia. And because that blood flow has been blocked, then there's no perfusion, that's blood flow of the tissue. And when they would like open up the blood vessel after the stroke and get reperfusion, there was a lot of damage to the cells upon reperfusion. That's called reperfusion injury. And that was a problem with heart attacks when they get rid of the blood clot. There's a problem with strokes when they get rid of the blood clot. They would get the blood flow back, but I really do think it had to do a lot with the oxidative stress that went on, but there was reperfusion injury. Well, molecular hydrogen protected the cells from reperfusion injury. That was huge. Okay. So let me see. This is my favorite article about molecular hydrogen. I hope you can see it. Is anybody's camera on? Let's see. Well, I'll stop my screen share and I'll do it again with that article just to make sure. Okay, and we have talked about this article before, but I could not talk about molecular hydrogen without bringing up this article. A preventive and therapeutic medical gas for various diseases. And here's the abstract, but I just want to scan the article. So the introduction is good. Let's see what it talks about. Antioxidation, anti-inflammation, anti-apoptosis, that's cell death. Now we do want apoptosis for cancer cells, but we're talking about normal cells that have programmed cell death. Their lives can be extended. Gene expression, signal modulator, so molecular hydrogen helps your cells talk with each other. How can it be delivered? You can inhale it. You know, I tease with Mr. Hope sometimes when I see the bubbles coming out of my, the machine and the bubbles start rising in my container. I just sniff in the molecular hydrogen because that's what the bubbles are. You can also be delivered orally. You can drink it, right? You can inject hydrogen-rich liquids like saline, direct diffusion, so baths, eye drops, immersions, all kinds of ways they are actually studying for delivery of molecular hydrogen to patients. And what are some preventive and therapeutic applications? Central nervous system diseases. That's the brain and the spinal cord, right? So you name it. Here, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, traumatic brain injury, cognitive impairments. I'm looking for some other names, but they're talking in categories. Cancer, tissue dysfunctions, sensory systems and skin, the reproductive system, urinary system, respiratory system, the metabolic syndrome, the digestive system, cardiovascular system, central nervous system. These are publications, the number of publications showing the effect of molecular hydrogen on those systems. So cardiovascular system diseases, digestive system, metabolic syndrome. So that's pre-diabetes, right? Respiratory diseases. I mean, molecular hydrogen is a superhero as far as one of the superheroes of science. So I went, I don't see Mr. Hope. I was just kind of talking until he came in, but I think it's time for me to let you guys talk. So I do have other articles, other stuff to show you, but why don't we see who wants to jump into the fray? So if you do have a question or a comment, just raise your hand either in the Zoom, or you could type your question or comment in the chat and I will see it there. So why is molecular hydrogen, and I kind of gave it away, right? Such an important topic for us, because guess what? Being electrolyzed reduced water is not the only superpower of Kangen water. It is, or being reduced water, being a detoxifying water, being an antioxidant water, all wonderful. But it's also a molecular hydrogen water, or hydrogen rich. That's another thing you can look up, hydrogen rich water. Now, the thing about hydrogen rich water, or the molecular hydrogen in our water, it only lasts for a short amount of time. So to get the maximum benefit of all of the superpowers, I call them, of the Kangen, of the electrolyzed reduced water, you have to have a machine, right? By the time you pour the water, put the cap on, get in your car and drive somewhere, the molecular hydrogen is gone. And I don't care how tight your seal is. I don't care how, I mean, you have to have a scientific, not scientific, but an industrial hermetically sealed container to keep that molecular hydrogen inside. Why? We said it. Hydrogen is the smallest element in the universe. It is tiny. So it can escape from a sealed container, a quote unquote sealed container. We don't see it escaping. The water may not escape, right? Because the water is a bigger molecule, but the molecular hydrogen is a tiny, tiny molecule. So it has to be consumed right away in order to get that maximum benefit. So, oh, I see a hand. Let me invite Vernita to the call. Welcome, Vernita.
Well, thank you so much. Fascinating. I think we're all geeks on this call.
I'm so glad.
Yes, I'm loving it. The one thing well, two things. One friend of mine from an Asian lady, and she was saying, "Oh yeah, she drank H2 water." So I thought, okay, they've been knowing about this for a while. But then some people I've listened to encourage you to use glass bottles or glass containers to share. But of course, that is super, super heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've come across some kombucha that comes in a dark brown glass bottle. So I save them. So I would put my water for the day in the dark glass. And I know, like you said, once that cap is popped, that hydrogen escapes. But I don't know how much is captured.
Before the cap pops. Before. So, okay. I mean, you're still getting benefits from the electrolyzed reduced aspects of the water. But the molecular hydrogen, you have to drink that within, I'd say, 20 minutes. By 20 minutes, all the molecular hydrogen is, or not all,
Yeah.
but the vast majority is gone.
I remember when I first got my machine and just the little tiny bubbles on my lip. It was just like you can, well, my imagination just can see them tiny bubbles going down, and all my cells is
Mhm.
cheering and just sucking it all up. But what a question about hyperbaric chambers.
Yeah.
Um, uh, are they not infusing the body with oxygen and hydrogen? Do you have any idea about hyperbaric
Yeah,
chambers?
good question. And I I have I've definitely been exposed to them, and I have friends that have purchased them. And but I don't remember the percentage. I know when we use them uh for nitrogen uh sickness, for divers,
Mhm.
and they would come up too fast, then they would use the hyperbaric chambers to force the oxygen into the bloodstream, and into the tissues. Also, when people would have a low oxygen situation, let's say uh, the blood had been cut off or decreased from a limb, and their tissues started to show signs of tissue damage or even necrosis. That was one of the ways that we tried to force oxygen into the tissues. But again, the question was how much and how long. And when Michael Jackson's nose started deteriorating, I think that's when he was sleeping in the oxygen chamber. Um, I can't confirm that, but I have a good idea that that's what was going on. And I can confirm that I remember when it came out in the news and it was talking about how weird he was for sleeping like that. And, but when I found out later about all of the plastic surgery he was having, well, you cut the blood supply when you cut the tissues. And if you have multiple procedures in one area that was already, we looked at cartilage, right? We looked, and your nose is cartilage. We looked at what cartilage looks like, and cartilage has no blood supply. So, um, he had a problem with the tissues around the cartilage of his nose because he was getting it altered so much. So, that was a way to try to force oxygen into those tissues. But what effect it was having on other tissues by being too much, that I don't know. But definitely when hyperbaric oxygen is used as a treatment, they're very careful about how long the exposure is. But and I have to look this up, but I really do think it's a high level of oxygen that's being pumped in, if not 100%. And under pressure, that would force it into the tissues. Um, but again, that's a uh, something I can look up to give you, more
Yeah.
definition. But that's the idea, that under pressure, it forces whatever you're breathing into the tissues. And what happens underwater is under pressures of atmospheres of the ocean, it forces nitrogen into the tissues and into the bloodstream. And if you come up too fast, when the pressure is released, if the pressure is released too quickly by ascending too quickly, that nitrogen forms, actually, the tissues boil. It forms bubbles that bubble up in your bloodstream, and that's no good. So,
All right. Yeah, that was a question on Jeopardy last night. I forgot
oh, really?
the question, but the answer was the bins. I knew that.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, well, fascinating subject. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vernita. All right, so, oops. Let me unpin Vernita and see if there are any more questions or comments before I go to our next resource. Actually, we've got two great resources to come, but I see Juanita's hand. So Juanita, good morning. Welcome to the call.
Dr. Lisa. I've kind of got technical difficulties going on here, but we're all good. I've been on and off the call. I just wanted to rejoice with everyone. And I just got a call from the police department. Rivercom is what the name of the place that we call in calls if we're having fire or some kind of theft, as we know the drama that's been going on here. Well, yesterday, God clearly made it known to me, and I've known this, but he kind of amplified it, that we know what's going on here, and we are not victims, right? Vernita, I love you dearly. You always keep my mind where it belongs. So I decided to be proactive, and I'm talking to my neighbors, and I'm asking them. I've got a table out in my yard. Well, the landlord fenced me in, so I cannot get out. And the city was here yesterday, and we're going to make sure this is going to be taken care of. But I'm giving away a bunch of food and extra things that I don't need. And I'm flocking. A bunch of neighbors are coming over, and my neighbors have all been in example prison, hospitals, homeless, abusive. Keep naming the situations. It's here. And God put me here for a very, very, very good reason. And I was disabled and displaced, and I still use the cane and the walker occasionally. But it was very audible to me that we need to start a neighborhood watch. And it was very, very successful when I lived in Portland, especially in the very wealthy parts of town. And every few blocks, there'd be a new neighborhood watch, and there'd be people hanging out on Friday nights, the kids, whatever. Sometimes they'd close the streets and have barbecues, and, it was just a very friendly thing. Well, I called dispatch yesterday as I'm trying to get all the police reports for all the drama happening here. And I say, officer, I'd like to know if there's a neighborhood watch in South Wenatchee already established that I could be a part of it. And he says, oh my goodness, I haven't heard of that. He says, we do not have any neighborhood watches in Wenatchee. And I says, you've got to be kidding. I mean, they're ever so successful, especially in the good parts of Portland when I lived. And so he says, here's the website. Go on there. And he goes, if you want me to be a part of this or our department, let us know. We'll be happy to come to your home. And this is maybe why the fence is around here. And
That's awesome, Juanita. Did you have a question about
well, I wanted to know,
molecular hydrogen or
I wanted to
oxygen
know
or
the last question the last thing I heard before the officer called back or dispatch, you were talking about the two types of strokes, and I put burst and aneurysm. And what is the second?
The second is a blockage or ischemic stroke, which can be caused by a localized blockage, or it can be caused by an embolus, which is when a piece of a blood clot or fettuccine alfredo breaks off and swims around in the bloodstream until it gets to a place that's too narrow for it to pass, and it will block off the blood flow to any tissues beyond it. So
would that be what do they call that? Is it a heart attack?
well, if that embolus lodges in one of the coronary arteries, then yes, it will cause a heart attack. If it makes it up to the brain and lodges somewhere in the brain, it'll cause a brain attack or a stroke.
Well, I just met a neighbor kitty corner to me, and he moved here from Montana, and he is said he had I thought he said stroke. No, maybe it was. And I said, well, what brought you from Montana? He said, my sister lives up the road, and he's got a caregiver and a little dog. So I just wondered the difference between a stroke and a heart attack.
Yeah, so they're both blockages in blood flow. It's just a matter of where the blockage
Where?
happens. If it happens in the heart, in the coronary arteries, then the tissues that artery feeds will not be able to get oxygen or release their toxins, and the tissue will be damaged and eventually die.
Now, when I was living out at Three Lakes with that gentleman here outside of Wenatchee, and he was murdered before my very eyes at the hospital in the emergency room, they told me that he had an aneurysm, and they had OD'd him with Dilaudid and killed him. And then they took him into surgery and pretended to do surgery and told me he died later, but he died before my eyes. It flatlined.
Yeah, so an aneurysm is where a blood vessel bursts and there's bleeding where it's not supposed to be, causing pressure again in the area. And that pressure causes the tissues around it to be compromised. And eventually, if the pressure is not relieved, to necrose or to die.
And
so I'll have
was
to look at our call topics log, because we did
Okay.
talk about that a little bit. I'm sure we've talked about that in the past, and the importance of hydration, the importance of antioxidants, the importance of our water, for instance, molecular hydrogen. Remember, we said, I don't know if you heard this part, we said on the call that it is cytoprotective. So it protects the cells when there is a perfusion compromise or reperfusion injury. So that's very, very, a very, very important topic. So that would be wonderful if he could, your new neighbor could get access to this hydrogen-rich water.
Because one of his side effects, I guess you would call it, was he has a caregiver, and I'm looking for a replacement. And I said, what is the name of your gentleman who comes over? And he says, I don't know. It has to do with, and then he touched his head, like the stroke.
Yeah.
So it affects the memory.
It depends on where, like we talked about the last call, the anatomy of memory. It depends on where the tissue was damaged, what the results or what the disorders are going to be.
Okay. Well, there we
go. Oh, there you are. We see you.
I know. I'm using my phone, but I want to show everybody what God's done for me. I am dog sitting with what I call the aggressive dog in the room next door. And his owner accidentally left him out yesterday and spent the day with me. And this is the dog right here. This is Sherpa. Sherpa, look at me. This dog will not, it's such a protector. And so I'm getting over the fear of the dog.
That is amazing, Juanita.
That is completely blowing my mind. I told the gentleman, I said, your dog and your cat, beautiful calico cat, sneaks out of the room every now and then. And I said, they're ministering to me and helping me heal. And he looked at me like with the strangest look in his eye, like, what are you talking about? And he said, well, thank you for keeping him company. So
that's
anyway.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's beautiful.
You're welcome.
All right. So our second resource no, our first resource. I still got another one I'm holding back, but I see that we have been joined by our fearless leader, Enagic 6A distributor extraordinaire, Mr. Terrence Hope. Mr. Hope, are you with us?
Yay, I'm with you, and maybe I'm a little bit with it. Yeah, so I'm glad to be here and glad to be with our Kangen Border Nation family, coast to coast and worldwide. And hi there, Juanita, I see you waving. Thank you for the salutation. And thank you, Dr. Singletary. I see your subject today was hydrogen and oxygen. And there were some things going on at the office today where I couldn't quite buzz in with you all at the beginning and hear all the information, but I'm catching little tidbits of maybe a little of what was going on earlier. I'm hearing you spoke about molecular hydrogen. Looks like you spoke about the circulation system or things that can cause blockages in the circulation system. So I'm kind of trying to intuit, trying to catch up. And sorry I couldn't be here earlier, everyone. Just a brief summary that what you went over today, can I ask?
Well, we talked about some facts about oxygen, primarily that it makes up 2/3 of the weight of the body, although not the entire number of, not the most number of molecules, but the most of the weight. But we had a question. How can oxygen be bad for you? Isn't oxygen good for you? And that led us to reactive oxygen species, oxidative stress. And we looked at some articles about oxidative stress and cancer, oxidative stress and other issues. And that took us to antioxidants. And we looked at antioxidant, what are they? And what foods can be antioxidants, what supplements can be antioxidants. And then we went to hydrogen. We looked at some fun facts about hydrogen. We looked at molecular hydrogen and hydrogen water. And we looked at some articles. I've got a couple of articles. We looked at one article in particular about molecular hydrogen.
Where can you get information like this in the world? Except for on the Kangen Water Health and Information Call with our own Dr. Lisa Singletary, MD. You know, I'm so thankful that you're here providing this information, this details, because we all get to, in the world, gets to share in the knowledge that you provide, the information that you're giving, because now we get to understand our bodies better, our environment better, how the body interacts with the environment and what things allow for us to be healthier, what can impair our health, and really more at a detailed level. You know, oftentimes when I first began looking at more of the science areas of the body, getting to understand the biochemistry more, I, recognized that I came out of a background, this is for everyone I'm sharing, that was not science per se, based in my education. You know, I went to college, I was a political science major. I tended to stay on the social science end of things. I didn't necessarily really study the science of the body. And I tell you the truth, when you really look at it deeply, sometimes it can look and seem intimidating, but what we have to recognize is we're talking about pathways and functions. And, we're in science, you're using terms that we don't use on a regular day-to-day basis. It's a different vocabulary, but guess what? It translates into English. And so, in plain language that we can understand. And so what I found for myself, speaking to our worldwide audience, is I would just take a video like this, where Dr. Singletary explains all these things. I just listen to it again and again, to the point where I can kind of slow down and break down the different elements and aspects of what she's talking about. And then you get a broader understanding. Sometimes it's just taking more time with the subject matter that's new and different, that allows us to absorb it and make it our own. And I once was told that, when it comes to information, once you can translate it into a form that is understandable to you, sometimes it takes maybe 3 different views of a piece of information for your mind to take it into its long-term memory. and really hone it into your center where you have an understanding, where you can relate to it and then express it and share it with others. Yeah. So I say all this to, not be scared when we talk more science, not to be scared when Dr. Singletary gets into more science details. This is the English language. These are pathways. These are functions. And we can all understand it. Just slow it down, take our time, and then we'll get it. Yeah. So I appreciate you, Dr. Singletary, and all the information you provide. I can see most people we have on here are veterans, and people come by and listen to us and are getting a regular weekly education, almost like this is our class, and indeed it is. And I'm thankful for it. I'll just give my just quick summary, because these presentations are available on YouTube, and people come in and they want to know about Kangen water. So I'll share just very briefly our overall summary about Kangen water and what it is. And I'll just take a couple minutes before we have to head out. So Kangen water, what is it? Kangen water, by science definition, is what we call an electrolyzed reduced water. So we all have Kangen water machines. Many people out there are curious about getting them. So the Kangen water machines are electrolyzed reduced water machines. This is the term you want to look up if you want to understand what Kangen water is. Electrolyzed reduced water is produced in the process known as electrolysis, which is a process where electricity comes in direct contact with water. And I highlight those terms so you recognize it's an electrical process. We call it electrolysis, and it produces an electrolyzed reduced water. So it's all about electricity and water. These are examples of our Kangen water machines. This is the SD501. It's a veteran machine for the past 17, 18 years now. This is the Kangen 8 machine. It's a digital unit with a universal power supply that allows you to travel to any country in the world and plug it in, because it'll adapt to your any electrical system, and it does not require the use of a power converter. So great machine to have for international travelers. Once again, our SD501 veteran. This is the Platinum SD501. It's metallic on the exterior. It's the same really thing as the SD501 original, just has a decorative exterior for those who like a metal casing that could match up with maybe your kitchen decorum, or sink, bar, restaurant decorum. Water hit by electricity divides into segments. Here's our electrical strike on water, producing a division of the water molecule from H2O to its elements, and you get an assembly of ions that have an antioxidant effect. Dr. Singletary mentioned today molecular hydrogen is one of them. So we want to make sure that our kind of water has an antioxidant effect, one of the things that Dr. Singletary was talking about. And this ORP, or oxidative reduction potential, is a meter used to measure the negative charge or positive charge of a liquid substance. The larger the negative number of a substance, the stronger the antioxidant effect. So we're looking for that negative number when we use this meter in measuring our liquid substance. Kangen water can be at -400 or more, sometimes -800. Very strong antioxidant effect. Watch out for things.
Call from
Watch out for things like soda. They can be very oxidizing and cause a high toxic load to build up in your body. Very cautious. Your body is mostly water. As Dr. Singletary says, oxygen is a great part of the weight of your body as well. The kind of water you have in your body will dictate the antioxidant, the effectiveness of the cell function. In this case, we're putting an antioxidant water into your body, so your body can be detoxing all the time and dissipate high toxic loads. When you can dissipate toxic loads, your body can stay at pH balance and be healthy. We always remind you that this is not an alkaline water in the sense of making you alkaline. This is a detoxing water using an alkalinity as a measuring tool of its antioxidant strength. Kind of confusing phrasing of terms, but just remember, different organs in the body have different pH levels. Some organs have an acidic pH, like the stomach and digestive system, intestines. Some organs have alkaline pH, like the bloodstream or the heart. So once you can detox effectively, your body is best able to maintain pH balance in all the organs. And the only reason why we're really dealing with a disruption of our pH is because of high toxic loads, junk foods we're eating, all kinds of things that shouldn't be in the body, candies, donuts, soda, McDonald's, like we say, probably isn't really food. We're not sure what that is. That's right, I did say that. Sodas are very toxic for the system. I would avoid them at all costs and drink proper water. Congo water is the best water for you. So once again, we're thankful for everyone coming to the call. Nice little summaries. You can always catch up with us on our information pages. Like here, our phone numbers in the United States, 866-526-4368 in the USA. In the UK, 0800-086-9793. In Dubai, 0800-018-589. And check us out on our websites in the varying countries. Kangen Water Dubai for Dubai, kangenwaterlondon.co.uk for England and the surrounding UK area, kangenwaternation.com for the United States. And we look forward to hearing from you and helping you with your Kangen water information. I turn the call back over to our illustrious Dr. Singletary, MD. Dr. Singletary?
Thank you, Mr. Hope. Yeah, I saw when you came in, so I did want to give you some breadcrumbs for to follow.
Thank you.
And one of the things that I was very pleased to see was that more than one of the articles did discuss turmeric. So I was wondering if sometime we could tag team on UConn and bring back turmeric, just some highlights for our, for that part of our three-pronged approach.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe we can touch on it Saturday or someday that you'd like to fit that in. We can do that, sure.
Awesome. Until then,
Right.
we are so thankful for everyone that joined us. And I'm going to try this one more time. You can fact check this this PowerPoint, because I did make some changes. So thank you everyone for joining us today on Kangen Water Radio, featuring the Kangen Water Health and Information International Call. All of the replays are going to be on YouTube. When you go to YouTube, just search Kangen Water Radio. You will find videos galore. There are over 40 of them. And we ask you to please, please, please subscribe. And also check out the description box of the videos. That's where all of these articles and PowerPoints and resources live that I use on the call. So you can go back when you listen to the calls, you can actually click on the links that I have used to find my information for the calls. So Mr. Hope, you have already said these numbers, but any corrections I need to make here?
Those are accurate, I think.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And for any questions you have in the meantime, you can email us at kwnation7@gmail.com. That's KWNation, the number 7@gmail.com. If you are not getting emailed, and I know I text people and I email people, but I'm particularly interested in getting an accurate email list. Please give us your email address at kwnation7@gmail.com so that we can include you in all of our call notifications. All righty, so thank you everyone for joining us today. We will see you on Saturday, same Kangen time, same Kangen station. And Mr. Hope, you have the last word.
Thank you all for coming to the Kangen Water Health Information Call. We'll see you again. Ciao.
We love you all. Mwah.
Mwah, mwah.
Bye-bye.